Welcome back to Road to Success. I'm so excited to be joined with the Executive Director of the Albany Symphony. Emily, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm thrilled.
So tell me a little bit about what your role entails and how long you've been in the role.
Absolutely. So I am the Executive Director of the Albany Symphony. Our offices are at the Palace Theater, and we perform all over the region. I've been here for about a year and a half now, and so I'm new to the Capital Region and just am loving exploring every corner of it.
For you to be the Executive Director and the leader of it, what does that mean to you?
Well, when you hear Executive Director, sometimes the Chief Executive Officer, there's so much lore in our society and in America around that, like, oh my gosh, you're going to be a CEO when you grow up. And I feel like for me, because I've always loved orchestras, it is a pinch me moment. Like, oh my gosh, I got the dream job. And not only did I get it, but I get to do it in a place that I love and with an organization that I love that has 96 years of incredible history of performing amazing music in this region. The other best part of this role is that it is collaborative by nature. You're not just working in a silo and figuring out, okay, how do I do this on my own? But it's in partnership. And for the Albany Symphony, the Executive Director role, my role is in partnership with our music director, our artistic genius who has been here for a long time, David Allen Miller. And he has just become such a fixture of the Capital Region. And so to step into my role a year and a half ago, it was all about that partnership. How do you work together to be able to make sure that we are building the greatest orchestra that we possibly can for this region?
In your heart, you have to love music to be able to do your job effectively. When did you first fall in love with music?
It was early for me. I'm very fortunate that my family has always loved music, and so we had a piano in our home, and that was when I first kind of got the initial bug. But then it was in public schools, and so when I was in 5th grade, our public school teachers brought us and showed us all the instruments of the orchestra, let us try them all. And for me, I fell in love with the clarinet. And so that's the instrument that you hold just like this. It's made of wood and has some keys. And I fell in love. I played it and I didn't squeak. And my teacher at the time, Mr. O, shout out Mr. O, he said, that's amazing. Most people squeak when they play it. Well, I think that was my one and only time for not making a squeak. Very humbling thing. But it really showed me a way to express myself and then also to find family and connection and friendship through the wind ensemble, the band program and the orchestra program, and the rest is history because I just love orchestral music so much.
How did your love for the clarinet and music really impact your career, your academic career moving forward?
So I did do a Bachelor of Arts, and it was in the liberal arts program. So I continued to play the clarinet, which was wonderful, but it allowed me to branch out and try a lot of different fields and disciplines, really teaching myself how to learn and that love of lifelong learning, which I think is a key to success for an executive director or somebody who wants to be part of a complex organization where you're not just doing one thing, you get to do a little bit of everything. And so for me, I realized that clarinet performance was not going to be my way in the world and my way in the field. I love it and I'm so grateful for it and how it's instilled in me the love of the art form, but it was more about finding my superpowers in other ways and having mentors along the way coach me and say, actually, maybe it's not clarinet performance, but maybe it's administration. Maybe it's public speaking, maybe it's leadership, maybe it's team building, and bringing a lot of people along that journey that is going to be your road to success in this field.
And so was that advice from somebody that you really admire that really persuaded you, or was it a passion you wanted to do to eventually get that MBA from Columbia Business School?
Oh, great question. So yes, and I was very, very fortunate to do the MBA and get the business acumen. And I would say it's actually been my mentors along the way. I worked for the Boston Symphony for 8 years, and I started as an executive assistant. Like it was fresh out of college, and you start at the very bottom, and you learn the organization, and you have people that trust and believe in you along the way and coach you, give you that real feedback, help you learn to make mistakes and grow from those mistakes, and then to help identify where you can up-level your skills. And so it was the people that I worked with at the Boston Symphony that said, do this for yourself, do this for the industry, go get the business degree, and it will help prepare you to be able to take this on as a career and a lifelong way to have impact for orchestral music in our country.
When the opportunity became available here in Albany, what made you say, yes, I want it?
For me, I wanted an orchestra that was fearless. I wanted an orchestra that was really creative and also had its eye on the future, that cared a lot about the future of American orchestral music. Yes, the greats, the Beethovens, the Dvorak's, the Tchaikovskys, the Shostakoviches, they are amazing, amazing composers and pieces of art that should be played and heard by as many people as possible. But we have an austere sense of purpose to make sure that orchestral music is something that can be relevant and exciting for everybody. And working with living composers is something the Albany Symphony does so well, bringing composers to this region to understand the capital region and write music that is reflective of our time, that is telling the stories of lots of different types of Americans and people and experiences, and to be able to bring that to the concert hall and to the stage and to the thousands of people who are able to hear our concerts. To me, that's one of the most important, exciting things an orchestra can do right now, and I just feel so lucky that I got to do that with the Albany Symphony, that's my first executive director job.
You really bring a youthful energy to the Albany Symphony, and one thing that you've told me you've really tried to do is through the programming make music really accessible to young people and people of all ages. Do you want to talk about some of the different ways you've been able to do that through different initiatives?
Absolutely, and that's another thing where we want to make sure that orchestral music can be heard by as many people as possible. And so through our education programs, which have been an innovative hallmark of this symphony for a long time, so there was a beautiful legacy that we could build on when I was able to take the job and work alongside David Allen Miller with this. But we think of our education programming as almost like a cradle to grave, where we want to be able to have a moment of memory with young people when they have their first experience with music, in the same way that I did with the piano and with the clarinet. We bring the instruments of the orchestra to public schools, and so we make sure that every second and third grader in Albany gets to meet Albany Symphony musicians and see those instruments and see for themselves, wow, I could play that, I could do that, and that sense of possibility and creativity and confidence that can come from music. And then we do all kinds of programming, a side-by-side with the Empire State Youth Orchestra, where its middle and high school students get to work directly with professional orchestral musicians and help increase through mentorship and through playing at a very, very high level what they can do. And then lifelong, we want to make sure that our tickets are accessible to everyone. We have a program, a partnership with the library, where anybody can go to all of the public libraries in the region and check out concert tickets for free, redeem them, and then come to our concerts for free, because that should be a resource that is available to everybody here. And so it's really just about being intentional at every step of people's lifelong journey when they're living here in the capital region, that their Albany Symphony is here for them and is here to inspire them, and that we are inspired by them and made better because of it.
And meeting them where they are.
Right.
One thing that I really enjoyed that you have done, and you're getting ready to gear up to do it again, is the Bicentennial performances. Talk to me a little bit about that and how that really came to be.
Absolutely. So the Erie Canal is such a hallmark of New York State. And as somebody who has not lived in New York State before, there was this wonderful introduction when I got taken to all of these locks, and it was like, this is a lock and it's a public place and you can walk across it. Like, it's okay, like this, everybody should enjoy this. It's a beautiful part of New York State's history, but also a part of its present and its future. And so we have been in partnership, the Albany Symphony, with the New York State Canal Corporation to celebrate the Erie Canal's bicentennial. Our big bicentennial moment was in 2025, so this past summer, where we did a number of free festivals, bringing the orchestra on tour and finding little canal side communities that are just special and beautiful in their own ways, and that we wanted to unlock their potential. And what better way to do that with a free orchestra concert, and a concert that is the hallmark of that concert is a new work written by a composer who was in residence in that place, understanding and getting to know what makes that place special, and also maybe what are some stories that were not well enough understood and need to be part of our reconciliation as a state and as a country, and be part of understanding how we move forward together as as citizens of this great state. So this upcoming summer, we're doing it again, which is fabulous. And so we're going to be having concerts in July and August, again, bringing the orchestra on tour, free festival activities that are day long, really unlock the full potential of these beautiful places. And in some ways, it's where we can double our impact, because we can bring in as many people to the free festival concerts as we do to our concert halls throughout the year. And so it's just a really, really wonderful celebratory way to all be proud of being part of New York State and what our state can represent.
I see the excitement in your face and the way that you talk about the different initiatives and the program that you've been able to create in your position. What do you love most about what you get to do as executive director?
Oh, wow. So, I mean, just in terms of the role itself, I like that there's no day in the life. I like that there's a day where, okay, we're going to get together with the musicians and talk about some of the specifics around programming and figuring out how we're going to audition new members and bring people and make sure that our concerts and our musicians, which we have 70 member musicians who come to this region for concerts every time we perform. So that's a wonderful piece of it. Working with the team, understanding how do we focus on audience development? How do we tell our story in a really compelling way? How do we inspire people to become funders and supporters of the symphony, underpinning what we do so that we can keep our tickets at that modest, fair price so that anybody can come? Collaborating with the board, who have been just along the journey the whole way. Just every single thing that I do is keeping me bouncing around and moving, and I just love that as a day in the life. Nothing about it is boring. All of it is about serving this region and serving this art form.
Do you still find time to pick up the clarinet?
A little bit, yes. I did play a little bit in our side-by-side concert, which was at MVP
Really?
Arena. Yes, yes. The Empire State Youth Orchestra, oh my gosh, these kids are just amazing, and they represent what this region is when it comes to our education activities and focus here. But we put them side by side with the Albany Symphony Orchestra, and then for the last couple pieces, we invited anyone in the region of any ability, so I qualified, to be able to come down and join the orchestra. And I was able to play in for those last two pieces.
Wow.
An orchestra of 400 people taking up the entirety of the space of MVP Arena, really just kind of giving that life-affirming, vibrating feel of what it means to make music together.
And for folks who are watching who could be interested in a career as similar to yours, what advice would you give them?
That's a great question. For me, it is mentorship. And this is something where I am so lucky to have found my superpower and to be able to say, this is what I can do to contribute meaningfully to make sure that our world is a better place to live and has curiosity and respite and togetherness and community and collaboration. And to be able to find your skill set that can fit within that and kind of unlock the potential in other people as well. So I feel fortunate that I found that through mentorship, that it was for the people that I worked with at the Boston Symphony, at the Atlanta Symphony, and now here at the Albany Symphony, just having people who give you that honest feedback. So I would encourage anyone who wants a career in music is ask for a lot of advice. Talk to people and understand how they got to where they were, and find people who can help give you that feedback along the way to be able to guide you to what you do best and what you find core fundamental fulfillment in, so that every day you wake up feeling motivated and inspired.
It seems like throughout your career, you've really found different opportunities for enrichment to keep growing. Correct me if I'm not right, but were you named the 2025 Ann Parsons Fellow?
Yes, that's right. There's a wonderful constituency organization for American orchestras. It's called the League of American Orchestras, and they bring together the 800 orchestras that there are across the United States and help us work together. We don't want to work in isolation, and I think that's a beautiful thing about music, is that it does force us to be creative and figure out how to learn from each other and what can be successful in our industry. And so there is a leader who was the CEO of the Detroit Symphony for many, many years. Her name was Ann Parsons, and she passed away too young from breast cancer. And so there was a group of women CEOs who said, we need to do something for Anne. She had such a big impact in our field, and we want to bring her legacy forward so that there's a space for young women leaders like me to be able to work directly with the CEOs of the Atlanta Symphony, the Los Angeles Philharmonic, the Pittsburgh Symphony, the St. Louis Symphony, and many others. And so we all get together once a month and work through issues. We have direct mentorship, and it's really about how do we pave a way for people who have historically been underrepresented in our field to be able to shine and to be able to unlock potential to be the best version of a leader that they can be. I think what excites me so much about it is that, yes, this is about women's leadership and celebrating what it means to be a woman leader and how that is a very specific kind of leadership, but there's intersectionality behind that. And so we have people in our cohort, people of color, which is wonderful, Black people, people who are Latina, and also people who are queer or maybe come from a background that is not just about professional classical music. And it's celebrating the fact that effective leadership can take all different kinds of shapes if only we're brave enough to figure that out, and that as a society is going to make us better.
I was going to say, through your own experience, being able to experience symphonies in different major cities and being able to travel so much, did that become something that you were really passionate about, that feeling that wanting to have that representation, wanting to see that diversity, and wanting to be one of the leaders who make that happen in the future? Was that something that you learned along the way that became very important to you?
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is advice I would give to anybody who wants to be in this musical field as well, is through that curiosity, understand what success looks like or what a great orchestra looks like in a lot of different settings. Like, it expands our imaginations and our capacity to be able to lead and grow and problem solve, because there will be numerous problems when you're in the executive director role, and you need more tools to figure out how to navigate it together with your team and with your board and your music director. And so for me, I guess one anecdote that I'll share is when I was at the Atlanta Symphony for 2 years, one thing that was so exciting there was understanding how the orchestra embraced and lived the values of the civil rights movement in the United States. And so there were all kinds of programs that were built by civil rights pioneers and that were supporting Black populations and giving opportunities for young Black and Latinx students to be able to have access to music. And just seeing how the city of Atlanta was able to create a program that was so uniquely Atlanta, reflected that city and was part of the bigger ecosystem of where Atlanta and Georgia is going as a place, was so exciting, because an orchestra can do that if there's care and connection and humility and kind of a broader strategic perspective. I do believe orchestras can be part of moving a region forward. And that was just so inspiring to understand how a place like Atlanta did that, and now to come to the capital region and being new here, to get to know what makes this region special and what does this region need to grow and flourish, and how can we be a part of that journey.
Well said. No job doesn't come without any challenges. What do you find to be some of those roadblocks or those things that has been really challenge you, maybe in a great way, but is something that you face?
I would say for us, and this is in the orchestra or industry writ large, is we are working from a place where there's been a long-held perception that classical music and orchestral music is only accessible for a few, and maybe is only accessible to those who have significant disposable income or significant wealth. And there are just so many ways where we just need to break that down a little bit. And it's more about being in places, meeting people where they are, which we were talking about, and also thinking about it with intention in our programming as well, programming things and presenting guest artists and music that is going to be broadly recognized by and exciting populations that maybe have never come to hear our concerts before. And so I always find so much enthusiasm coming from our first-time single ticket buyers and saying, okay, how did you find us? How, why are you here? And how can we make sure that your experience is so wonderful? One of the ways that we try to do, make that a more wonderful experience is we're thinking about the concert, not just as the 2 hours that you're sitting in your seats, but the full experience. What is it like to come to the Palace Theater, to come to downtown Albany? What happens before the concert, during the concert, and after the concert? How do you interact with people around you? Same at Troy Savings Bank Music Hall or MPAC or our cool, unique venues on in canals. And just being able to really help people understand that we want this to be an experience that is memorable from beginning to end in a really positive way.
And are there any words that you really live by, whether it was advice in the past or something that you tell yourself every day before you get out of bed that really inspires you or motivates you?
It's around collaboration. I think that's one of the most exciting things about this field, and I think is key to success in this role, is being able to know how to work together with a large group of people. And actually, I love it in orchestra specifically, because the orchestra is a metaphor for collaboration all by itself. Like, how do you get 70, 80, 90 musicians on stage, and you have the music director, whether or not it's David Allen Miller or someone else sitting there, being able to conduct and bring everyone together, but you have to be listening to each other, and you have to be also feeding off of the energy and the enthusiasm that's happening around you. And that's what I love about the concert experience too, is that you have these musicians who are all on stage working together to be able to build this beautiful sonic journey, but it's only made magical when you have a concert hall full of people that are there to listen and engage. And so I see that as the metaphor for the job itself, is you feed off of the energy around you by building teams that are really high performing and excited and engaged and have that sense of their own role in our collective success. And then you pull in a lot of other industry experts that care about this art form, whether or not that's on our board or other folks that we need, and then the music director, the artists, the composers, like, it is part of building this kind of patchwork all together, and it's something that truly is the greater than the sum of its parts.
Emily, I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you. This is just thrilling. I'm really honored, like, truly, to get to pinch yourself and say you get your dream job doesn't happen, and to be able to help amplify that message and help folks find their own dream job. And a little bit of love and joy in this world is what we need. Excellent. We'll see you at the concert hall soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on next week's episode of Road to Success.